our first session, we looked at the course outline. And then, of course, yesterday, we started this chapter of introduction to basic Excel functions, introduction to basic Excel functions. And actually, this was an assignment which was supposed to be done. This was an assignment which was supposed to be done. So this is not supposed to be here. So just allow me to do away with this. Okay, yeah. So what you do, you can just take the shortest time to create this. Just take the shortest time to create this. So we make an assumption in this session for introduction to Excel functions. We make an assumption of you being here, for instance, here, class teacher, and at the end of the term or at the end of the academic year, you need to produce the results. You need to produce the results to the parents, or maybe during the school internal board meeting, so that you understand the performances of your students. So we are going to use this sample, this sample work here to try to understand those particular assignments. You're going to use this sample work to try to understand those particular assignments. Yeah. So we have this table here. We have this table here. So we have got the student ID. We have got the student first name, the student last name, gender, of which if it's male, you just indicate M. If it's female, you just indicate F. And then, of course, we're having some random subjects here. We're having here English, Maths, Kiswahili, CRE, and Science. Allow me to say this is CRE stroke IRE. Yeah, CRE stroke IRE. Yeah. So just prepare this in a minute, and then we proceed. Prepare this in a minute, then we proceed just as it is, just this one only. Then we're going to fill these other. We are going to feed the other information. We're going to feed the other information. So just prepare this as it is, then we proceed. Okay. So you're done? You're done, so that we proceed. Now, great. Perfect, thank you. So after that, we now proceed to the next aspect. So from here, we're going to learn our first Excel function. Remember, just like we said in our first session, mastery of Excel functions is very, very much important for, it's one of the factors that would really determine students' success or students' performance in this particular unit here in the examination. One of the secrets to passing BDA is really having that mastery of Excel functions. That's one of the secrets of passing BDA, having mastery of Excel functions, and of course, not to mention, having mastery of Excel keyboard shortcuts. Lazima ukuwe guru ya Excel, lazima ukuwe mjanja kwa Excel hata kama wewe sio guru. So it's very, very much important that we get to know how to use Excel. It will really save us a lot of time. Whichever work that someone will spend 30 minutes to do just because they do not know the use of Excel functions, when you know a proper use of Excel functions and Excel keyboard shortcuts, a work that someone can do within 30 minutes can take you maybe like only 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so. That is if you know Excel functions so as to work with it very well. And that is why we are saying that it is important that we get to understand the use of Excel functions very, very proper. That's the reason why we spend a number of lessons. We spend a number of sessions to ensure that students understand clearly Excel functions. Perfect. Now, we go ahead now and introduce our very, very first Excel function. Well, in your real life setup, you'd really want to fill in this information based on what you have with your students, based on what you have in your students' papers. But for this particular one, I'd really want us to use a function here. So we are going to instruct Excel to generate for us any random scores. We're going to instruct Excel to generate for us any random what here? Any random scores. We're going to instruct Excel to generate for us any random scores. We have got our scores in English, mathematics, Kiswahili, CRE, and what here? And science. So we just want Excel to generate for us any random scores for these particular students, any values that we are going to use. In a real life setup, we've said we will use the students' marks. All right. Now, what shall we do? If you want Excel to generate for us any value, what we are going to do is that we are going to use a function that we call the random between function. That's our very first Excel function that we are learning, random between function. So I'm just going to say equals. It's also important to note that before you use any function in Excel, we must always start with an equal sign. We must always start with an equal sign. The reason why I like using this simple sheet, the score sheet, is because it really gives that good basic foundation of understanding these formulas, starting from the very, very simple ones as we try to move to the complex ones. So I'm going to say equals random between, and in Excel, it is abbreviated by this rand between, rand between, rand between, rand between. So we are going to use the rand between function. Now, what happens? Once you try to type a function, all the functions that start with that specific number will actually pop up. All right? All the functions which start with that specific number will pop up. Now, once we have this, ladies and gentlemen, you can move to the rand between function. And once you select it and it's in blue, then what can you do? You can simply tab from your keyboard. There is a keyboard called tab. Once you've highlighted the function that you want in blue, you can simply hit on tab and the function will be active. Or alternatively, once it's highlighted in blue like that, you can simply double tap on that rand between function and it will be active like that. Now, once it's active, then what do we need to do? We now need to feed in the function or simply the formula inputs. We now need to feed in or key in the function or the formula inputs. Like for instance here, we have bottom and we have top. Ladies and gentlemen, before I proceed, I want to make this clear starting from today. Kindly never guess an input of a function. Never guess an input of a function. You might start the random between function and then try to ask yourself now, well, what do I need to feed in for me to get results? Well, the moment you activate that function, Excel will always guide you on what you need to key in for that particular function. And really, if you just look below here, these are what we need to key in. These are what we need to key in. So we have only two inputs for this particular function. Which ones? Number one is bottom and number two is top. Those are the only inputs that we have for this particular function, bottom and top. Now, the only question is, what does this mean? The only question is, what does this mean? Before I proceed, ladies and gentlemen, allow me just to backspace a little bit. When I backspace, the moment you have that function highlighted, you can see a brief description of what that function does. And what are you being told here? We are being told that the function rand between returns a random number between the numbers you specify. Very good. It returns a random number between the numbers you specify. Perfect. So it then means here, ladies and gentlemen, that really we want a number within a given range. We want a number within what here? Within a given range. Notice that here we have bottom and number two we have top. Well, we'd simply interpret it that the bottom means the lowest number that we want to have and the top number that we want to have. So then the question is, the student that we want to score the lowest marks, how many marks do we want them to score? Let's say, for example, 30. That is bottom. The question again is this: how do you know the current input that you're supposed to feed in? Check into your formula guide and the current input will always be in bold. The current input will always be in bold. It will always be in bold. If you check, bottom is in bold. Bottom is in bold. So that is our current input. Bottom is in bold, and therefore it is our current input. So once we key in that, once we are done with it, you just place a comma. Notice that the bold has shifted from bottom to top. And therefore, right now, we are supposed to key in the top. The question then would be, our student that we want to have the highest marks, how many marks do you want them to have? Let's say, for example, 90. So we have no more inputs. We are done with that. So we want Excel to generate for us a random score in between 30 and 90. We want Excel to generate for us a random score in between what here? In between 30 and 90. That's what we want. So once done, I'll execute by hitting on enter. I'll execute that by hitting on enter. I'll execute that by hitting on enter. I'll execute that by simply hitting on enter. And perfect, we are there. Now, don't worry. You might have keyed in the same inputs as mine, but you get a different output. From my side, I got 81. From my side, I got 81. You might have got 30. You might have got 90. You might have got 52. You might have got 60. You might have got 31, or whichever thing that you have. But really, look at this. If I'm just here, and then maybe, Notice my value is now at 68. Notice that my value is now at 68. So don't worry about what you have. Don't worry about what you have. So long as you have the right formula inputs, that's perfect. What next? The next thing that we do, once we have this, then simply what we do is to autofill. What we do is to autofill. So how do we autofill? And by the way, I need to make something clear before we proceed. Yes, I need to make something very, very clear here before we proceed. What is this? There are these two key things that keep confusing some of my students. Number one is highlighting, and number two is autofilling. We have highlighting and we have autofilling. We have highlighting and we have autofilling. Now, if I'm at this particular space here, then I want to highlight. Once you have clicked on that specific cell from where you want to start highlighting, then if you place your cursor at the center of that cell, notice that it does not change its shape. It remains as it was before. If you place your cursor at that cell, at the center, right? You click and hold on, and then you drag it down. You are highlighting. I repeat. You place your cursor at the center of that specific cell. You click on your cursor and hold on, then you drag down. You are highlighting. Great. You click on that particular cell. You place your cursor at any point within the lines, all right? You place your cursor at any point within the borders, at any point on the borders of that particular cell, at any point on the borders of that particular cell. When you do that, your cursor will change into that icon where you have like, let me call it a compass direction, where you have something like a compass direction like that. And then you click and hold on, then you drag it to anywhere. You just drag it to anywhere like this. You just drag it to anywhere. Alafu labda uachilie hapo. You have moved the content of that cell from that specific cell to another cell. So what you've done is that you have simply transferred. You have simply transferred the content of that cell. You have simply transferred the content of that particular cell. Now, hold on, sorry, what did I do? Let me take it back. Don't worry about the value changing, it's fine. It's totally fine if the value is changing. There's no problem with that, so don't mind. If the value is changing, don't mind. And it's not what we are doing that is changing the value. It is because of the function which we used. Now, you might want to duplicate this value. You might want to duplicate that particular value. You might want to duplicate that particular value. So we want to remain with this particular value of 45 within this cell. But again, in this cell again, cell J15, we also have that same value of 45. What do? I'll come and click and hold on this cell. I place my cursor on the line or on the borders of the cell. And then now before I start now transferring, I'm just gonna click on control. So I will click and hold on control. I'll click and hold on control, and then I click and hold on my cursor, and then I drag it to where I want to take it. Like for example here, maybe for example in where? In J15. Maybe for example in J15, that's where I wanted it to go, and then I achilie hapo like that. I release it there like that. I don't have this booklet. Oh, you're supposed to make this. You're supposed to prepare this material. Just prepare it. Just prepare. I thought you did. Just prepare this. You're supposed to prepare this. Just prepare this. So just have these ones. The ID, the first name, last name, gender. Or you're in the WhatsApp group. Are you in the WhatsApp group? Okay, so just a minute. Allow me to stop for a minute, and then I share with you in the WhatsApp group. Just a minute. Sorry, I had paused the recording, but then I forgot to resume. All right, sorry. I had paused the recording, but then I forgot to resume. Sorry about that, but there are whatever I've done here, there are functions attached to it. There are functions attached to it. Like here, I've just used the sum function. Here, I've used the average function. This is the max function, and this is the mean function. Sorry about that. I forgot to resume the recording after some time. Sorry. But should you have any challenge in your revision, you can just reach out. Should you have any challenge in your revision, you can just reach out. You can just reach out if you have any challenge in your revision. So are we together? Are we together? Is everything okay up to that stage? Or maybe there's something that's not understood? Is everything okay? Or there's something not understood?
We are together. Yes.
Perfect. Great. So we shall proceed. So what do I do here? What do I do here? We have the comments, we have the position, and then we have the grade. Allow me to have the comments come after the position and the grade as well. So I just want to change this, and then I take it here. Yeah, like that. So I'll first of all start with position, grade, and then comments. I'll first of all start the position, grade, and then comments. Yeah. Position first, the grade, and then the comments. The position first, the grade, and then the comments. Now, for the position, our interest is to see who is our student number 1, who is our student number 2, number 3, all the way to number 10. All right, we just want to see which is our first student. Well, manually, if we look at this, we can quickly say that this student who has scored the highest score will be number 1 of 73.6. This will be number 1. And again, quickly, you can also say that this student who has scored the lowest marks of 46.6, this will be number 10 because that's the lowest score. But now, who is number 2? Well, our data is small, and therefore it means that we can manually look at it. This is 73.6. So I will look at the one just after 73.6, which is going to be 65.6. So it means that this will be our number 2. After that, this will be our number 3. And like that. But now we have a lot of data. This is not the only data that we have. We have a lot of data that we are working on. We have a lot of data. We have what we call big data that we are working on. We have big data which we are working on. So how then do we go about it? How do we go about it? So for the position, we use a function that we call rank. We use a function here which we call rank. So I'll simply say equals rank. We use here the rank function. We use 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 the rank function. Now, what does the rank function do? We are being told here that the rank function returns the rank of a number in a list of numbers. The rank function returns the rank of a number in a list of numbers, its size relative to other values in the list. Perfect. It means that it will return the relative position of a number in a list of numbers in reference to all the other numbers within that particular list. Once I activate the rank function, notice that the rank function has 3 inputs. Notice, ladies and gentlemen, that the rank function has 3 inputs. Number 1 is the number here. Number 2 is ref, and number 3 is order. The first most important thing, just like I said, is not to guess the inputs of a function, but to understand what do those specific inputs require. So here we have three inputs. Number one is number, number two is ref, and number three is order. So at least we're sure that we are going to key in all these inputs. So number is simply what we want to rank. Number is simply what we want to rank. Notice here that our first student is Mark. Ladies and gentlemen, please take note that we cannot rank the name Mark. We only rank the scores of Mark. I'll give an example. If right now we are in a class of 5, we're in a class of John, James, Janet, Diana, and Wycliffe. Notice that we cannot rank Wycliffe making reference to all the other students based on their names. No, we use their scores. We use their scores. So what are we ranking? We're ranking them based on the scores. In other words, we are ranking their scores. So the number is actually going to be the mean here. And then number two is the reference. We were told that this particular function here returns to us the rank of a number within a given range relative to other numbers within the range. So reference is simply all the other numbers that we want to make reference to while doing what? While doing the ranking. And then order, we have two orders. Number one is descending and number two is ascending. Number one is descending and number two order is descending. So first of all, we start with the number. And the number is simply this. So we are ranking the mean of the first student here, Mark, which is 60.8. That's the first number which we are ranking. We all agreed once we are done with the formula input, we must put a comma. So I'll put a comma like that. And then next is ref, or simply the reference. Next is ref, or simply the reference. Now, the reference is going to be all the other scores, including the score of the first student. So the ref is all the other mean scores, including the mean score of the very first student. That's the ref. All the other mean scores, including the mean score of the very first student. That is the ref. That's simply the ref. All the mean scores, including the mean score of the very first student. It's all the mean scores, including the mean score of the very first student, like that. Including the mean score of the very first student, like that. That's the ref. Put a comma. If you don't understand somewhere, please let me know. If you don't understand somewhere, let me know. Good. Now, for the order, we have 2. 0 for descending and 1 for ascending. 0 for descending and 1 for ascending. Now, if you are number 1 out of 20, when we were still growing up, we used to say if you're number 1 out of 20, that you have poorly performed. Why? Kwa sababu unaona 1 ni kidogo. But if you become number 20 out of 20, then you're celebrating because you have scored the highest number, kwa sababu 20 ni mingi kuliko 1. So you see, you have performed very well. But in real sense, the reverse is true. Now, if you just leave Excel to perform for you this, then it will actually use that knowledge to do the ranking. So what it will do is that it will take the highest score and award the lowest rank. What do I mean? If, for example, here we have a list of 10 students, then it means that Excel will assign these numbers, this score of 73.6 as number 10, and a score of 46.6 as number 1. All right, as number 1. So that is if we use what? That is if we use the descending. That is if we use what? The ascending. That is if we use the ascending. If we use the ascending ranking order. But if we use the descending ranking order, then whoever is is having a mean score of 73.6 will be ranked as number 1, and whoever is having a mean score of 46.6 will be ranked as the last person. So the order simply determines how do you want it to be ranked. Do you want whoever scored the lowest marks to be given the highest number, or whoever scores the highest number to be given the highest marks to be given the highest number? Just like that. Just like that. That's simply what we need to know. That's simply what we need to know, like that. That is simply what we need to know. So we use the descending order. 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 Then once done, autofill. Use the descending order. Then once done, autofill. Once done, autofill. Use the descending order and then autofill. Use the descending order and then autofill. Right? So I hope that we are together. I hope that we are very, very much together. Now, one thing that you will notice is that there's a problem here with our rankings. There's a problem with our rankings. You can see we have got, like, for example, here, 3 number 3s. We have 3 people being at number 3. We have 3 people here being at number 3 when their mean scores are not the same. We have 3 people being at number 3 when their mean scores are actually not the same. We have 2 people being at number 2, their mean scores are not the same. We have 2 people being at number 1, once again, their mean scores are not the same. That should not happen. We should only have 2 people being or sharing position if their mean scores are the same. But let's ask ourselves, what is causing all this? What is causing this? What is causing this? I will go back here to the ranking of the first student. I simply want to go through my function, which is here. From the formula bar, I can see that the function is starting with the number K2. So we are ranking number K2, which is this one, the mean of the first student. That's very right. Ref is K2 through K11. K2 through K11. Very right, because you're making reference to that. And then the order is 0. So that's perfect. I'll go to the second one. I'll go to the second one. The number is K3. So right now we are now ranking the second student, which is K3. Very right. Ref. We are making reference to what here? To K3 through K12. There's something that I want you to note there. The first one, the ref was K2 through K11. The second one, you're having K3 through K12. The order has shifted. Notice we have stopped making reference to the score of the first student again. So we are only making reference starting from the second student all the way to the last student, who is number 10. So tumeacha ule wa kwanza, which means that the ranking criteria is not going to be right. If we go to the next, we are ranking K4, very right. Making reference to what? K4 through K13. Once again, we have skipped the first 2 students here. We go to the next, we are ranking K5, very right. Making reference to what? K5 through K14. Notice that K14 is even blank. What's happening here, ladies and gentlemen? What's happening here is simply that Excel, if we simply instruct Excel to autofill downwards, then anytime we have a range, Excel will always move one cell down. Excel will always move one cell down. If we are autofilling, Excel will always move one cell down. This, ladies and gentlemen, introduces us to a very, very important concept of what we call types of cell referencing. Types of cell referencing. Types of cell referencing, because that is now cell referencing. And please note that cell referencing is very, very important, because this is one of the time-saving tricks that you need to know. Types of cell referencing. Types of cell referencing. Types of cell referencing. Types of cell referencing. Now, we have 3 types of cell referencing. We have 3 types of cell referencing. Number 1, we have what we call the absolute cell referencing. Number 2, we have what you call the relative cell referencing. These are questions that you can get in section 1, the theory part. And finally, we have what we call the partial or mixed. The partial or mixed cell referencing. So for the types of cell referencing, we have number 1 here, the absolute cell referencing. We have the relative cell referencing, and then the partial or simply the mixed cell referencing. These are questions which you can get in section 1. Now, perhaps I will explain these types of cell referencing tomorrow. I will explain these types of cell referencings tomorrow so that you understand them very, very clearly. But simply, for the purpose of this class, what I want us to understand is that whether we are ranking the last student, the first student, the third student, the fifth student, or which type of student that we are ranking, we need to maintain our reference. Okay? We need to maintain our reference. So our ref here, if you just go to your first input and then you go through your formula bar and click on it, and then you click on ref, you'll see the ref highlighted. And my ref was K2 through K11. Ladies and gentlemen, that ref needs to be constant. It should not change. It should not change. It needs to be constant as we autofill downwards. As we autofill downwards, we need to maintain K2 through K11. Remember, I have said very clearly that as you autofill downwards, Excel will always move one cell downwards. As you autofill to the right, Excel will always move one cell to the right. As you autofill to the left, ladies and gentlemen, Excel will always move one cell to the left. It's important to understand that. Now, the ref, I want to maintain it to be constant. And therefore, I'm going to employ something that we call an absolute cell referencing. Don't worry, I will explain the types of cell referencing in our next class. So here, I simply want to employ this absolute type of cell referencing. So what do? I will repeat again. I will click on the very first input here. I'll click on the very first input here. Once I do that, I'll go back to my formula bar. I click anywhere within my formula here, and then I will click on ref here. I'll click on ref here. My ref will be highlighted, which is K2 through K11. To change the type of cell referencing, ladies and gentlemen, from your keyboard, there's a key there called F4. F4. Not F and then 4, hapana, F4 like that. I think they are the very first keys pale juu. Ukiangalia kuna F1, F2, F3, F4, F5, I think all the way to around F12. Yeah. Now, we use that F4 key to change the type of cell referencing. So I'm just going to say F4. It's not working. Very good. If it's not working from your side, don't worry. If it's not working from your side, don't worry. Hold on Fn first. Hold on the function key, Fn. Fn is somewhere between control and the Windows key. Fn is somewhere between control and the Windows key. So I'll hold on Fn and then F4. Like that. Like that. Fn and then F4. Fn and then F4. Like that. So once you do that, you'll notice that there are some dollar signs that have been introduced. There are some dollar signs that have been introduced. It is that dollar sign that we use to denote the type of cell referencing which we are using. It is that dollar sign which we use to denote the type of cell referencing which we are using. It is that dollar sign which we use to denote the type of cell referencing which we are using. So we have K2 through K11 like that. And then, of course, they have been fully locked. They have been fully locked. Remember, I've said I will explain those types of cell referencing in our next session. I will explain clearly the types of cell referencing in our next session. So for now, let's use that. So I will simply hit on enter. And then once I do that, I will re-autofill again. I will re-autofill. I will re-autofill. I will re-autofill. I will re-autofill. And now when I re-autofill, everything now works out perfectly. Everything now works perfectly. Everything now works perfectly. Everything now works perfectly. Everything now works perfectly. Yeah, everything is now perfect. So I can see number 1 is this student who scored the highest score. And who is number 2? This one 65.6, very right. Who is number 3? 60.8, very right. This is number 4. So everything has been done correctly. Everything has now been done correctly. Everything has now been done correctly. Everything has been done correctly now. Just confirm with me if we are together. Confirm with me if we are together, or there's somewhere that you are lost. Are we together or you are lost somewhere? If you are lost, you let me know so that we cover it up very fast. If you are lost, you let me know so that we cover it very fast. So are we together or you are lost somewhere? Are we together or you lost somewhere? Okay, fine. Great. I will simply delete everything here, then we start afresh. Now, for the position, we say that you are going to use the rank function. We are going to use the rank function. So equals rank equals rank equals rank. We are using the rank function. So equals rank equals rank. Now, we are awarding the positions based on the mean. We are awarding the positions based on the mean criteria. We are giving the positions based on the mean criteria. So number here will be the mean. Number here will be the mean, the first mean of the first student, comma. And then ref, we are all agreeing that we are giving the positions of this first student based on the scores of all the other students, including that first student himself. So the reference will be the scores of all the other students. So what do I do? I will highlight the scores of all the other students, including that first student. So I will highlight everything like that. Like that. That will be my ref. That will be my ref. And then, of course, I've said to make sure that we use the correct type of cell referencing, we need to employ what we call the absolute cell referencing. So even before I proceed, I will simply hold on Fn and then F4. I hold on Fn and then F4. Mara moja tu. Usifinye continuous, mara moja tu. Just like that, Fn and then F4. Or alternatively, your F4 might just be working. So ukifinya F4, it should give you that. If it's not giving you that, you first of all hold on Fn and then F4. Just once. Usifinye na ukwamilie ama ufinye continuous, leo itakupatia something different. So this is what we should have in cell referencing. So we should have $K, $2, $K, $K11, like that. That's my ref, comma. The next is order. I have explained the difference between descending order and ascending order. If you use the ascending order, the student with the highest score will be given the lowest ranking. The student with the highest score will be given the lowest ranking. But when you use the descending order, the student with the highest score will be given the highest ranking, and therefore we use the descending order, which is denoted by 0. We use the descending order denoted by 0. We use the descending order denoted by 0. Descending order denoted by 0. Once done, I will enter like that. And then next is simply to autofill now. Next is now simply to do what here? To autofill. Next is now simply to autofill. The next thing that we do is now just to autofill like that. Just to autofill like that. Is it okay now? Is it now okay? Great, thank you. Perfect. Great. Now, we are remaining here with what? The grade, the comments, and the region. We are remaining with the grades, the comment, and then we are going to see how we are going to use this region thing. We are going to see how we are going to use that region thing. So first of all, we have the grades and we have the comments. We have the grades and we have the comments. I'm going to start with the comments. I'm going to start with the comments first. I'm going to start with the comments first. I will start with the comments. I will start with the comments. I will start with the comments first. I'll first of all start with the comments. I'll first start with the comments. I'll first start with the comments. I will start with the comments first. Now, for the comments, I just want to put a comment whether a student is actually proceeding to the next class or they are repeating their current class, okay? Whether a student is proceeding to the next class or they are doing what here, or they are repeating their current class, whether a student is proceeding to the next class or they are repeating their current class. So for the comments, I just want to have a comment as either proceed or repeat. Just as simple as that. I just want to have my comments as proceed or repeat. Just that, proceed or repeat. That's the type of comment which I want to have, either proceed or repeat. Now, which function will I use to do this comment? But then just before I do the comment, I need to know what is my pass mark. Because if I'm saying that someone should proceed, what is the pass mark? If I'm saying someone should repeat, what is the pass mark? So what is the criteria for deciding and whether a student is proceeding or they are repeating their current class, all right? What's the criteria for determining or simply identifying whether a student is proceeding or they are repeating their current class? I need to set a pass mark. I need to set a pass mark. Now, I have a mean of between 73.6 to 46.66. And clearly, if I look from my data, most of my students have really performed very well. Majority of my students have really performed very, very well. They have really performed very, very well. So what I'm going to do here, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to decide that, well, my pass mark is 50. I'm going to say that my pass mark is 50. So for you to proceed, you must have scored an average or a mean of 50. Otherwise, you are repeating. You are repeating. Good. So for the comments, I will use a function that we call the if function. Please, I want you to clearly understand this if function. I want you to understand the if function very well. It's a very, very important function. The if function is a very, very important function. The if function is a very, very important function. Take note that if function falls under a category of functions in Excel that we call logical functions. It's one of the functions that will make you to have an output based on the specific arguments that you will want. Let's see how. I'm going to say equals if. That's very important to remember. Before we start any function, we must start with an equal sign. Now, what does the if function do? I'm being told that the if function checks whether a condition is met and returns one value if true and another value if false. Very good. Checks whether a condition is met and returns one value if true and another value if false. Ladies and gentlemen, what does that mean? What that means is simply this. I want Excel to check if the mean score of this student is greater than 50, it should give me an output of proceed. If the mean score of this student is less than 50, it should give me an output of repeat. Just as simple as that. Now, it's very important to understand the inputs of the if function. We have the following. Number 1, logical test. Number 2, value if true. And number 3 is value if false. Those are the only inputs that we have. Logical test, value if true, value if false. Now, what's our logical test? Our logical test is simply the condition that must be met. That's our logical test. The condition that must be met. The condition that must be met. That's our logical test. What is our condition here? Our condition is that the mean should be greater than 50. That's our logical test. That's our condition. Your mean should be greater than 50. What is the value if true? Value if true is simply the output that we want if that particular condition or logical test is met. Ladies and gentlemen, if indeed the mean of this student is greater than 50, what output should Excel give us? Proceed. Excel should give us an output of proceed. Then we have value if false. Value if false, ladies and gentlemen, is the output that we need that particular condition not be met. In other words, if a student fails to attain a mean which is greater than 50, What should be the comment? Repeat. That is what we want. So our logical test here will be that the mean, which is, for my case, it's in cell K2. The mean for the first student here is what? Is greater than. The mean is greater than 50. That's my logical test. If the mean is greater than 50, I'm done with the logical test. I'll proceed to the value if true. What have I said value if true is? The output that we want Excel to give us, should the condition specified be met. Should Excel find that the mean is indeed greater than 50, what output should it give us? Proceed. Ladies and gentlemen, proceed is a text input. Anytime you are using a function in Excel and you want to key in a text input which is not part of a function, please do start with the quotation mark. I'll open the quotation marks. I will open the quotation marks and then I type proceed. I type proceed. I close the quotations like that. That is my value if true. That's my value if true. If the condition is met, that particular person should proceed. Comma, value if false. Meaning, if the mean is not greater than 50. If our specified condition is not met, what should Excel give us? Repeat. Once again, it's a text input. I will have my opening quotation marks. I say, repeat, I close, like that. And then I do what here? I execute my function. I execute my function by hitting on enter. Notice the first person here proceeds. If you look at the mean, it's greater than 50. That's a perfect output. I will autofill. I will autofill. Someone is repeating here. What is this mean? This is a mean of 46.6, less than 50, very true. Someone is also repeating here. This is a mean of 48, less than 50, very true. That has worked out perfectly. 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 That has worked perfectly. Confirm with me if we are together. Confirm with me if we are together, or there's something that I need to make clear. Confirm if we are together, or if there is anything which I need to make clear. Very good. Very good. So if we are together, then I want us to stop here and then we meet in our next session. I want us to stop here and then we meet in our next session. So in our next session, we are going to do the grade. We are going to do here the grade. And then there's how we are going to use this region here. There's how we are going to use this region here. And then once that is done, we are going to look at some key analytics here. And then we proceed to some more advanced functions. These are just very, very basic Excel functions just to help us understand. So for now, I want us to stop there. But then make a try of how to do the grade. Make a try of how to do the grading. Make a trial of how to do the grading. The hint is that we are using the if function. The hint is that we are using the if function. And another hint, you must have a grading system in place. Like, for example, if you say that maybe between 20 to 30 is grade D, maybe between 31 to 50 is grade C, and all that. Yeah. So try doing the grade, and then we meet in our next session. We start from here as we proceed to some other advanced levels. So our next session will be on Thursday. Our next session will be on Thursday. Remember that classes are on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So our next session is on Thursday. Our next session is on Thursday. So for now, we stop there unless there's a question. I will address any question if there. All right, good. So if there is no question, I'm going to share with you this worksheet in the WhatsApp group. Just in case you missed anything, you can follow up with this, and then we meet in our next session. Yeah. So thank you, and have a good day and a happy weekend ahead. See you on Thursday. Bye-bye.